Hi, everybody. I'm Dave.
And I'm John.
And this is Coffee and Capes, our podcast about two of our favorite things, drinking coffee and talking about geek culture.
It's true. It is. We've done that now.
This is episode 30.
Is this episode 30?
I'm pretty sure this is episode 30.
I'll have to check when I go in and put all the stuff in. But I think you might be right. Episode 30. Wow.
Yay us.
Yeah, way to go.
And yay you guys if you're still with us. We appreciate it very much.
I don't know why you are, but for the 10 of you that religiously listen to our podcast, including my mom, my dad, thank you. Thanks.
That's impressive. I'm not sure my mom knows what a podcast is, though.
I don't think my mom listens to us. I don't.
Your mom should. Somebody's mom should. Somebody's mom should listen to us.
Well, I'm sure somebody's mom does, just not like my mom. I don't know. To your point, I don't know that my mom knows what a podcast is. If she does, and she's hearing this right now, good for you, Mom.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Well, my mom probably knows what a podcast is. I'm certain she doesn't know how to access one.
No, yeah, guaranteed. But my mom can find WebMD like a champ.
Well, WebMD, that's a lot better than some things she could find.
That's true. Type in the wrong search word into the Google and all kinds of things. What is that?
Well, friends, as you can tell, we are unscripted here, and we just have a good time because we think geek culture should be fun, and we like it, and we think it's for everybody. So we're glad you have found us in whatever manner you are consuming us at the moment. But we like to let you know about all the ways that you can connect with us.
True, we do. So if you're watching us, you actually found us now one of two ways. You either found us on YouTube.
Hi.
Or you found us on our website at coffee, the letter N, the word capes.com. So COFFEENCAPES.com. Because we are putting our video podcasts up on there. So you can now go there and see them.
That's
we
awesome.
Don't have them.
Yay, yeah. Hi. Hello, Coffee and Capes website watchers.
Hey, everybody. Or if you're listening to us without staring at our faces, which is actually at least my recommendation.
For sure.
You found us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. What are all the different ways that you can listen? Google Podcasts. Does anybody listen to Google Podcasts? I don't know. So you found us in some of those ways. You can also find us on the socials. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we are on Twitter, all those different things. So thanks for following us. And if you ever want to drop us a line, you can shoot us an email at supers@coffeeandcapes.com, and we actually will respond because we're lonely. I'm so lonely.
We will respond. We'll just get that. We get our dial-up modem hooked up, and we'll respond to an email.
That was like the worst noise, right? But it was also the most satisfying when it first started to happen, because you're like, it's happening, I'm getting connected, and now I can play Dungeons and Dragons with other people online. Everybody's gonna cheat. I can't see anybody roll the dice yet.
True. Those were the days.
Yeah, those were the days. Commodore 64.
Nice.
Who remembers those?
I remember that they were a thing. We were in Apple IIe.
Oh, wow. The like all white one with the green little.
I think that was the Apple IIc, maybe the white
was
one.
It?
I don't know, man. That was a long time ago.
This is really dating how old we are, by the way. I just want to
We're old, folks. Yeah.
Like if you want to get really old, like my elementary school had PET computers. If you know what those are, it's like a single unit, like look it up sometime, PET. And they were like one of the first computers that they started putting in schools.
I do not remember those.
Yeah, it was.
I had the Mr. Professor little like handheld like game thing.
The football one.
No, yeah, that too. But
I liked the football one.
No, there was like a learning game one that was shaped like an owl or something.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah. I didn't have that one, but the football one was cool.
For sure. That was the best.
Anyway, we have now first tangents out of the way. Hi, Kevin Costner.
Hey, let's go to fan fiction.
Fan fiction is a little different today. We actually we want to give a shout out to our friends Scott and Courtney. Scott is a co-owner of CrossFit Thunderbolt, the gym that Dave and I both go to, and that my wife Rachel and I are going to start coaching Olympic lifting at. And anyway, Scott and his amazing wife Courtney picked up some coffee and Capes coffee. Courtney is like myself, put some sweet little creamer inside your coffee to really enjoy it. And they got the Harlene's Roast, which, excuse me, Harlene's Roast is a flavored coffee. It's the only flavored coffee that we have. But she tried it and she said it's the only coffee she's ever had that she likes so much that she drinks it black without any creamer because it tastes so good.
It's amazing.
That is pretty amazing. Like coming from a guy, we were talking about this 2 days ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, yesterday, something like that. And yeah, and I was like, I'm afraid to try it because I haven't tried the Harlene's Roast yet because I'm not usually a big, like, other people tried it and said it was great, and that's why we went with it. But what if it really is that good that I don't have to put creamer in my coffee? It's weird. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't understand why that would be bad, but you do you, my friend.
I will.
I'm not here to yuck your yum.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Dave, what are you drinking today?
I am enjoying some of the Empire's Roast. Yes, it's a great dark roast that's making me want to take over the galaxy.
It's true, and it's super smooth.
It is. It really is.
My dad and I were talking about it because my dad orders. That's his favorite that we have. Thanks, Dad, for supporting and being a coffee addict. But he was saying, he and my stepmom both were talking about how it's super smooth, and unlike a lot of other dark roasts, it doesn't have that like acidic bitter bite at the end.
Right.
And he's not wrong. Like I've had it. It's delicious. It doesn't have that little kind of kick at the end. It's probably the smoothest dark roast I think I've ever had.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it really is.
Really
How about you, John? What are you drinking this morning?
I'm still making my way through some Dynamic Duo. Love the Dynamic Duo. I mean, I really do. It's it has a really nice, like, smooth finish to it. It's super tasty. It's got a little bit of chocolate. It's definitely got a little bit of sweetness to it. Not overpowering, like it's not
not flavored. It's not a flavored
coffee. It's not flavored. It just has that, like,
notes of,
it's got the little bit of notes of it. And so I really like the Dynamic Duo. It's probably one of my top favorite coffees.
I know it's hard to say, right? Like they're like
they're
our children
like
now.
Children.
We don't want to, exactly. We don't want to name a favorite, but
right, because they're all like children. Like you secretly have like the one kid you're like, I love you the most. Don't tell your sister. That's not a thing. That's not really happened. But with coffee, right? It's like they're all so good. I'm still surprised how good, how much I like the light roast that we have, considering I'm not a light roast guy.
Right.
Usually light roast falls super flat flavor wise for me. And those do not. I was pleasantly surprised when we were doing our coffee tastings, and came through to those light roasts that they were as flavorful as they were. So
we got a little something for everybody, I think. Even decaf. I don't understand you people that drink decaf, but I know that you exist, and good on you.
You know what though, I've found is, like, sometimes I want that coffee flavor, but I don't want the caffeine late in the day. Power Dampener is fantastic for that. It's such a good dark roast, and it because it's Swiss water processed. So I don't know about you, but now we're really diving into like the coffee thing for a second. But it's okay. We say in the name coffee and capes.
We do.
But so we learned something going through the process of working with our roaster and finding the right coffees and the right beans and everything else. The reason decaf has a weird taste to it is because it's chemically washed and processed to get rid of the caffeine. But there's a process called Swiss water processing, which doesn't use a chemical and manages to get rid of the caffeine without adding that weird like aftertaste.
Yeah.
So that's the decaf that we have, which is really nice for in the afternoon if you don't want the caffeine, but you do love the coffee flavor.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Enough on the
So
coffee.
yeah, you can and check out more at, as we said, at our website, coffeeandcapes.com.
Yes.
Although a warning, we don't as yet sell capes.
No, but you know what? I want to give a shout out to the Genre Geeks guys. Head on over to their podcast as well. Give them a listen. They're hilarious. And we did, however, send Darren a cape. We sent them some coffee to try. Darren wanted Nesquik. We sent Darren Nesquik. He stated something about us being his heroes. And then he made a comment about, I want a cape. So we sent him a cape. And on the back of the cape, it says, Darren is our hero.
Nice.
You're welcome, Darren. And all the other guys at Genre Geeks. They're awesome.
Thanks, Genre Geeks. We like you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being good friends.
Yep. All right.
So, John, what are we talking about today?
Dave, today we are talking about movies.
That's a shocker. Movies? Know, right? When do we talk about movies?
Right? We're going to talk about Morbius again. No, we're not.
No,
we're just not going to talk about Morbius again. We are going to talk about, though, movies that have stood up over time or gotten better as we've watched them. And then movies that maybe not so much, right? That were a bit of a disappointment. So maybe something that was better than what we anticipated it being, things that were not as good as we anticipated them being. Morbius fell right where we expected it to.
Yeah. Can I just say, let me say, there's a movie review podcast that I like. And one of the guys gave Morbius a B-. Like he liked it. I was shocked,
sure.
But I'm glad that people exist that like that movie and found it entertaining.
He might be dyslexic though, and was trying to go with B- and just went the wrong way on the scale.
No, his partner gave it a D+. So
well, that was nice. So it's a solid C in their book. Like if you go between the two of them.
Right. Yeah.
C's get degrees, kids. All right. Dave, do you want to kick us off?
No, I think you should today. I want you to kick us off today.
All right.
I'm mixing it up, man.
Oh, let's get
going crazy.
So let's start with it. If you know what you see behind me, if you're listening, behind me is we always do wallpapers behind ourselves to kind of give people an idea of what we might be talking about. Mine is from the movie Serenity. And man, I was actually told to watch this. And at the time that I saw this, I'm going to be totally honest, like I had never seen Firefly. So I didn't know what I was getting into. My roommate at the time was super excited. He's like, dude, you got to see this movie. He's like, it's based on the show Firefly. It's a continuation of that. And I said, I've never watched Firefly. He goes, doesn't matter. You can still watch the movie. The movie's fantastic. I had zero expectations. I remember seeing like the preview for it and just being like, I mean, it looks cool, but I don't understand it. And,
sure.
There was definitely a cult following for it because of Firefly. So I didn't really anticipate much. And man, I will tell you, it was so good. And I have gone back to this well over and over and over and over again. I went back and watched Firefly like right after it, like the entire run, and the storyline, everything about it, just so creative. Man, Nathan Fillion, everybody within the show, it has some amazing moments in it. It has the single most heartbreaking moment in cinematic history.
Well, that's a bold claim.
Tell me I'm wrong, when you get to the point where he says, "I'm a leaf on the wind." Oh, and like the hair on my neck is standing up, like the hair on my arms. Like you don't expect Wash. You don't expect. And let's do the spoiler.
Oh yes, right. Yeah. Now none of the, we have a tradition of being very spoilery here. Like if you don't like hearing spoilers, then you're gonna not like us. So, we want you to like us. So get over the idea that we're gonna have spoilers, I guess. So yeah, spoilers galore.
Yeah. So when Wash dies, like that moment that he dies, it's just like, oh, every now and then I like to post on like social media. I'll post, there's a little meme that shows Wash and it just says, "I'm a leaf on the wind." And when I post it, I get messages from people who have seen the movie and are just like, they have that and they're like, "Damn you." Just damn you. And it's held up. Like you would think, like this, the thing is with like sci-fi movies over the years, sometimes they don't hold up because the special effects just start to weather badly.
Yeah.
But they did a really great job, probably because of budget, right? But from a stylistic standpoint, they nailed it. Man, it was so good. It was tense. It was emotional. It was funny. There was levity. Like I wanted a second one so bad.
Right.
They weren't afraid to have those heartbreaking moments, like when they killed Preacher and when they killed Wash, and they, so many people died. Oh man, such a good movie.
Yeah, Gina Torres is terrific.
Yeah. Oh, she's so good. So good. It's got a Baldwin brother in it, and he is hilarious.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Adam Baldwin.
Yeah,
as Jane. Yep.
I can't remember. Man. Anyway, everybody is just absolutely amazing. Just this, like, the sequencing, the direction, the story is just beautiful. There is a rumor out there that they are going to make a prequel series to Firefly.
Yeah, interesting.
That focuses on the war.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be Mal and everybody, but I'd watch it. Watch it. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, just looking at your screen, so Summer Glau there in the foreground as River Tam, she was terrific. Jewel State as Kaylee is like, she's kind of the sweet one and kind of the anchor to humanity in a way there, like reminding everybody that they need to be good to each other. And I've never known how to say her name properly. Morena Baccarin. I don't know how to say it for sure.
Yep. She's been in a couple like nerdtacular movies. She was
in Deadpool.
Love interest in Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff. She was in V, that remake of V.
Oh yeah.
She was the head lizard person thing in that remake of V that lasted like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so good. I mean, I'm not prepared to tackle this issue on this podcast, but then there's the thing that comes up about, well, what do we do with art that's really well done, that's done by people that we come to find out maybe aren't great people.
Yeah, we're not going there today.
Yeah, right. But it's a thing. Like I think it's important to just name that it's a thing that exists, and everybody can have their opinion about that. But I hope we're still allowed to like this and enjoy this movie and the show that was made, because it was really, really good.
100%. Yeah. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the storyline and the comic books that have followed. I mean, it's a really cool universe. And this movie has, like I said, it's held up well over time. Like I never go back to it and think, this is cheesy. This is bad. Like I can't believe I liked this. It's, so anyway.
All right. All right, I am going to be controversial here.
Hmm.
So, if you're watching, you can see that I have a still from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to tell you that that trashed movie is better than you've been told. I think it's I don't know if it's a good movie, but it's better than its reputation, I think. And here's what I'm going to say about that. I think, well, first of all, let's just say that Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is so terrific in this.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
And she might be the best thing in the movie. And we've talked about some of this before. I know, like, this movie comes up a lot. And there's a lot that doesn't work. And we've talked about that over the several episodes, that the, like, just starting out Superman and the 20-year veteran wizened gritty Batman isn't a good match.
The Frank Miller Batman.
Yeah, right. Yes, correct. The Frank Miller Batman with the I don't know who Superman just doesn't, with year one Superman, doesn't make a lot of sense. But I feel like if we really look at the setup of the movie, I feel like it earns the mistrust between the two of them.
Okay.
Like, think about how this movie starts. The opening scene is Bruce Wayne racing to get to his tower that's being destroyed by the fight that we get in between Superman and Zod in Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And from the ground level, these two, from Bruce's perspective, these two idiots are destroying buildings and killing tons and tons of people.
Yes.
Right. And he's racing to get to his building, calling somebody and who seems to be like a friend or a colleague. Like, he's seeing all this destruction around him. And then there's the security guard who gets the beam, falls on his legs, and you get the little girl pointing to the tower about where her mom is. Right. And he, Affleck as Bruce Wayne gets that look. He looks up in the sky and he's just so, and maybe it feels like overacting, but I feel like he kind of earns it. Like, with all this death and destruction raining around him, I think he earns that look to the sky. That's like that malice he feels towards Superman is justified. Now,
okay.
And then you fast forward a little bit, and I feel like what Superman does regarding what he's heard to the bat branding people, like, there's a sense in which, man, if these two idiots would just talk to each other, we'd all get worked out instead of just making assumptions. But I don't know. I just feel like it to me, it does a better job of setting up the animosity between the two main characters, between Batman and Superman, than it tends to get credit for. I think the Lois scene near the beginning, at least in the Ultimate Edition, where you get a little more of it, her setup, the whole thing she was trying to go for there in the desert, feels pretty real. And the terrorist leader who says something about it, policy and principle don't matter, that, like, who gets to decide who's a terrorist, kind of thing. And there's obviously some group trying to set up Superman as an unchecked power. Now, he is an unchecked power. They're not wrong that Superman, if he goes bad, like the premise of the idea that if Superman goes bad and decides he wants to destroy the world, well, he pretty quickly becomes Omni-Man.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in any hero that has had a run of success and goes south, like, we've seen it in the comics, like, becomes pretty hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Right. All right. May I say something?
No.
Too bad, buddy. Here goes.
This is a podcast. You're not allowed to talk.
Yeah. All right. So I'll say you're not wrong. Like, they do set it up. However, let the plot holes commence. Because here's the thing. If you have Frank Miller Batman, who has spent a lifetime fighting people like the Joker and the Penguin and the Riddler and keep on going down the list, Bane, right? We have to assume that at this stage of his career, he has done all those things.
Yes.
He has to have within his own wake of heroism the destruction on par with what these guys are doing. Part of him has to understand that it's not entirely Superman's fault, that he understands, like there has to be that, I get it. It's not like he's not the bad guy. Somebody needs to help him learn to do a better job, right? But he doesn't.
Sure.
He just goes down the,
I've got to destroy you.
Yeah, I got to destroy you. It's all your
There's
fault.
a 1% chance.
Right. And Superman, right? And Clark's animosity towards Batman is more understandable. He's young, he's new to the superhero world. He doesn't understand clearly the difference between what's gone on in Gotham for years and years and years and Metropolis, because they are very different. Also, Metropolis and Gotham being across the bay from each other.
Yeah, that was terrible. That didn't make any sense.
That wasn't okay. The Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor was not good. Gal Gadot, I'll agree with you 100%. Like, amazing.
She's funny. She's
powerful, strong,
sneaky, right? Yeah,
regal. Yeah. Like she comes in like a boss, and you're like, all right, I dig her.
Okay.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah.
And I've said this before in the past, and that is that the big failing that this movie and coincidentally, like I feel Justice League has is they've pulled characters from very different eras and brought them together in a way that just feels like, I like this version, and so we're going to bring that version in, and I'm going to like this version, and I'm going to bring that version in, right? So we got Frank Miller's Batman, and we got essentially the beginning of the Injustice Superman.
Yeah, a little bit. Right.
Like honestly, that's where I think that came from, is he's the injustice. And then we got truly like Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Like right from the moment that she would have joined the Justice League, I felt like Gal Gadot's character within this was exactly where she should have been based on the timeline that we were being given. Whereas Bruce Wayne and Batman were pulled from way too far down his developmental line. And the Superman that we got was clearly the Superman that we're looking at in terms of the Injustice timeline, which is fine. And that's okay, if that's where they were going to go with it.
Yeah. But then they kind of don't follow through with all that.
Yeah.
But man, those couple of scenes where Affleck gets to really go off as Batman.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
I think are amazing.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
Especially the scene toward the end where he's like, he hops off the bat plane and into the little warehouse and just takes everybody out.
Yes. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, and I don't have a problem with Ben Affleck's Batman. I really don't. Yeah. From a Frank Miller standpoint and storyline,
I think he's terrific. Actually,
I think he's phenomenal. If you told me that Frank Miller was going to get together with Zack Snyder and they were going to make Dark Knight series of movies with Ben Affleck as the lead, I am all in. Like, let me see that. Like, let me see Ben Affleck as, exactly what he was supposed to be. But you threw him in a weird spot, man. It's just a weird spot. And so for me, like, the movie had its highlights. I'll agree with you. It has its highlights. But for me, I was so excited too. And this is part, I think, of geek culture in general. Like, we as enthusiasts get really, really hyped for things.
Yeah.
And then when they don't meet our expectations, we are hands down like the worst critics on the planet.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's totally true.
You didn't do what I wanted you to do, and meh.
Right. And that, I guess maybe that's what I'm fighting against a little bit, that like, I think maybe we don't have to be as hard on this movie as we have been. I mean, it's nowhere near perfect, but I just feel like it's at least better than, for the most part, it's been given credit for.
I'm yeah, okay. I could see that.
Tempering expectations maybe, but
yeah.
I mean, everything you said is correct about its flaws, but I still think, man, and Affleck he's got the physicality for Batman.
Yes, he does.
Like that's what Batman's supposed to look like, especially Batman 20 years in.
Right.
That's what he should look like, I think.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've been watching, trying to make my way through Titans, I like the TV show from on HBO Max, and they've got Ian Glenn playing Bruce Wayne.
It was weird to me.
He's a fine actor, but he's, to me, way too old and way too slight physically. Like it just doesn't make sense. And so I don't know. That's just what comes to mind, is that contrast with Affleck. Like just bulked up. Yeah. Just bulked out and really looking good. Yes. And I mean, look, you look at those pictures, those three actors for Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, pretty dang good. Like they've done well with the looks on all three of them, I think.
They look stellar. And you know what? I think Henry Cavill had the potential to be a phenomenal Superman.
Sure. Yeah.
I really, really did. If we're talking about movies that I think are probably, better than people give them credit for, I'm gonna go with Man of Steel, like right on the heels of what you're talking about. Like remove Batman, remove Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And I think Man of Steel was better than a lot of people lead you to believe. I think if you go back and you look at it objectively, like let's take out everything that came after it and just look at Man of Steel as a standalone. Henry Cavill has, to your point, the physicality. I mean, look at him in your background.
Oh yeah, right.
He's stellar looking.
Yeah.
Like he's also a big, strong guy.
Yes.
He's like 6'1". So, when you put him next to Affleck, who's taller than he is, it kind of throws it off a little bit because Superman was always like the biggest.
Right. A little taller than Batman. Yeah.
Right. A little taller than Batman. But when you put him in that movie and he's, going up against Zod and everybody else, man, he does such a good job. Like there's moments where he's so like exactly Clark Kent. And and I get to bring him up because he was in the movie, like when Kevin Costner
well played, my friend.
Thank you. When Kevin Costner, right, who plays his dad, Jonathan Kent, right, tells him no when the tornado's coming, right? There's heartbreak. Like he loses his that young man who had just moments ago been fighting with his dad about being who he is and not being afraid to show the world, and then his dad like sacrifices himself so the world doesn't find out who he is and what he can do. Like he's heartbroken,
right?
He's heartbroken, and he truly wants to be a symbol of hope. Like that's his whole thing is I'm not sure he ever quite gets there. No, he doesn't. Symbol of hope thing. But I think that's a longer journey for Superman. I don't think Superman was immediately accepted in the comics as like the symbol of,
Well, and certainly in our world, it would make sense that that an alien would need to find. He wouldn't just be automatically immediately accepted. So I think having it makes sense, and would be a really interesting story to have him go from, outcast, finding my way in the world, who am I really, kind of sort of that hero's journey part that we talk about a lot, that to eventually being beacon of hope. Yeah. We just never quite got that story. Yeah. So anyway, that was just kind of my add-on to your Batman Superman thing. I do have a movie that is going to also cause some controversy because I think it's better than people have been led to believe. Let's go. What do you got? Green Lantern. Oh my gosh. All right. This I got to hear. So let's go. And I'm not talking about,
the one that was released in the theaters. There was an extended version that was done that expanded out some of the stuff within the story that helped it. And let's throw this out there. I think this is an important thing to state, is there are a lot of movies that, and Justice League falls into this category, that what was released in the theater had been edited down so much, and they cut some very important stuff out to be able to make it popcorny,
right?
That it essentially turns it into a very different movie and kind of makes it garbage. Green Lantern was very disappointing when I saw it in the movie theater. And I remember Green Lantern came out at the same time Thor did, right? Like right around the same time as each other. So I got to go see Green Lantern, and I was super pumped, super excited. Yeah. I think Thor came out first. So I saw Thor and I was like, man, Thor is actually really good. And I didn't have a lot of expectations for Thor. I know he's your favorite, so you probably did. Okay. And then I saw Green Lantern and I was like, oh man, like they used parallax right out of the gate. And they missed some opportunities. I had the whole, like, I wouldn't have done it that way. And then, but in the biggest issue I had was like how everybody was like, Hal Jordan wasn't like that. Yes, he 100% is. If you have read and followed like comics involving Hal Jordan as Green Lantern, Hal Jordan is a cocky, arrogant, like fly by the seat of his pants, like member of the Justice League who has a little bit of a hot head and has a history of getting into like not so great situations.
Yeah.
When you think about that persona, Ryan Reynolds fits that perfectly.
He really does. No, right? That's true.
And the special effects were good. Like the way he did, like the stuff that came out of the ring and what he brought to, like when he saved the helicopter that was crashing because he made the little racetrack and it like funneled it down to a safe spot and all that. Like the extended version does a nice job of like expanding upon some of the story aspects that got cut in the final theatrical version. That really didn't do it any favors and definitely made it worse. But I think that outside of bringing parallax in way too early in the storyline, way too early, like parallax is a whole different monster. We got to see Sinestro as a Green Lantern. I think they also kind of fell into the trying to do too much in a short span of time, which is why the extended version works better because you had more time. I can go back and watch it and I'm like, it's fun. It's entertaining. The extended version, like I don't watch the theatrical version. I literally watch the extended version, but I know that everybody trashes that movie and hates it. I actually think it's better than people give it credit for. I mean, it's not Morbius.
Right. Yeah. I have to say I have not seen the extended version. I'm not even sure I knew there was one. So I'll have to seek that out. I think what you say about, the different cuts and all that could be said about Morbius. I don't know that I'm interested in a director's cut of Morbius, but there's got to be somewhere, there's got to exist at least a whiteboard, something that's got a plot line that makes sense with Morbius. But
I think the Morbius thing is probably like a room full of like where like the walls are all painted in whiteboard like material.
Yeah.
And it looks like, I don't know, Albert Einstein's like notebook of like, well, if we do this and then this connects over here and then this goes over here and that goes over there. And, I was listening to the Genre Geeks guys talk about Morbius in their podcast, and they were like, this is what we got after 2 years of delays. And I was like, right? Like,
yeah, this is the best you could do after 2 years.
They pushed that back for 2 years and went,
just threw up all over themselves. Yeah. We're not here to trash Morbius more. I mean, or are we?
Right.
No. So Green Lantern, I don't know, man. I don't think I've watched it more than the one time. I maybe, and I looked it up. You're right. Both came out in 2011. I did not dive down further to see which one actually came out first, but Yeah, so good call on that one. It's kind of not that memorable of a movie for me. I remember thinking it's meh, whatever, it's okay. I liked the surprisingly, wow, there was good chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Who knew?
Who knew that was gonna be a thing?
Right. Yeah. I think I remember enjoying the parts like when we got a little insight into the Green Lantern Corps.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of the stuff in space was pretty interesting. As you said, it's probably a little trying to do a little too much, but we got to see some of the classic Green Lantern, non-Hal Jordan Green Lanterns. I would love to see him try again, maybe do a John Stewart version of Green Lantern. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. I'd like to see this Green Lantern Corps thing that they've been supposedly developing. It's supposed to have John Stewart, so I'd like to see that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Hal Jordan come back. Like, and it doesn't have to be Ryan Reynolds. It can be somebody else.
Yeah, it probably needs to be somebody else.
And it may be a little older version. I'd throw Nathan Fillion in there. He'd do well. He voiced Green Lantern.
That's right. Yeah, he did with some of the animated stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, I guess I don't even remember enough about the Green Lantern movie to argue your points or to poke holes, other than the whole parallax thing never made any sense to me. Like I remember watching it, and even as a relatively well-informed geek guy, I did not understand what parallax was supposed to do or supposed to be or trying to do. Like none of that made any sense to me whatsoever.
Right. Well, and I feel like a lot of the why behind that hit the cutting room floor, right? And so we were just supposed to sit back and like eat popcorn and enjoy what we were given. And again, like I said, the original like movie theater version, I wasn't happy with. The extended version, like when that came out, I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, okay. This is much better. Like this I'm happy with. The nerd in me still wanted to see a movie where Sinestro goes sideways and we get the yellow lantern against Green Lantern, which is, and in the yellow lantern suit, not the weird like 1970s Sinestro with the black suit and what looks like the collar, which I've never understood. Like whoever designed that,
the Cold Meister looking collar.
Yeah, right. Like, are you a yellow lantern guy? Or are you like Captain Cold's sidekick? Like
right. Yeah,
Jack
exactly.
Frost or something. I don't know. What are you? But we're not here to debate that.
No.
So anyway, that's one of my entries into this. We've spent enough time on Green Lantern, and I'm sure there are people who have just shut us down and been
that's
like,
a bold take, Cotton.
What do you got next, Dave?
All right. Well, next I'm going to tell you why X-Men 3 was really, really good. No, actually, I'm not going to do that.
Oh, thank God. I almost shut my microphone off and walked away from the computer. I can't. I'll die on a lot of hills. Like that Green Lantern hill, I'm willing to die on that. But I'm not going to the top of the X-Men 3 hill with you.
No.
The only good thing, before you move on, and sorry, the only good thing about X-Men 3 was we finally got to see Iceman like in his full like ice form. That was cool. That was cool. The rest of it, anyway.
Yeah, terrible.
What do you have? Not dying on that hill.
Nor am I, nor should anyone else. Hey, but if you are somehow somebody is listening to this who actually really likes X-Men 3, X3, I don't even know what it was officially called.
Yeah, X-Men 3.
Like I would love to we would love to hear from you. Like if you're an X3 apologist, I want to know how and why. Like I need to hear that.
Do we really want to hear from them?
I think so. Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you know what?
Like,
I do.
We talk all the time about liking to hear differing viewpoints. So I would love to hear if there exists an X3 apologist out there. I definitely want to know about it.
Yeah, I want to know why.
Yeah, I want to learn. I want to learn from you.
Why? And if you need recommendations to psychiatric care, we can give you some.
Okay, here's what I'm really going to suggest.
All right.
I think let's go to Marvel movies for a few minutes.
Okay. I was just thinking we need to go to Marvel.
Yeah. And it seems to me that the popular opinion is that the second Thor movie, The Dark World, is largely panned. And I think people need to give that movie a second chance.
I agree with you 100% on that.
I think it's really pretty good. It's not, I mean, when we get to Thor Ragnarok, that's next level. It's Thor. The Dark World is not as good as Ragnarok.
No, it's not.
But it's not bad. Thor.
It's
the
not
Dark
Iron
World.
Man
The
2
Dark
bad.
World. No, it's not Iron Man 2 bad. It's not. Iron Man 2 is not all that good, but I enjoyed it at the time. But I think Thor: Dark World is way better than people give it credit for. And yes, you kind of got to get past the, to use the old Roger Ebert term, the MacGuffin of the like space-time thing that's happening with the dark sludgy stuff. Like,
yes,
that part's a little weird, but I feel like we're starting to get hints in that movie that they're gonna let Hemsworth put some more personality into Thor. I think Darcy, what's that, Kat Dennings, who plays Darcy, is hilarious. I think she's terrific in those movies. And she's not given a lot to do, but you know,
she makes the most out of what she has.
She absolutely 100%. Does. She absolutely does. And I, you know, it was one of those that kind of got ruined in the previews. But when Thor goes to whatever I think they go to Vanir, and they're fighting the Horde and or that group, and you know, and it's Thor's making jokes, and there's the whole thing about like, oh, the big tough rock monster comes and Thor hits him once and he all falls apart, and like, it's funny, it's good, I think. And I think the Dark Elves look terrific. I think they did a really good job with that look on the Dark Elves. Now, maybe the storyline didn't make a super ton of sense. And why is this guy, and what, you know, what's we're just out for revenge or whatever. But I feel like they got the male kitten. If I'm saying it right, Malekith. Yeah, Malekith. Yeah. They got his look right, and he is, like, in the comics, he's kind of an evil genius. And I feel like we got a sense of that. So I don't know. I just don't. I'm not going to argue that it's, you know, in the top echelon of Marvel movies, but I don't think it deserves the trash reputation that it has.
You know, and I got to agree with you. I've seen that, like, from so many people that, you know, Thor: Dark World 2 is bad, it's terrible, it's this, it's that. It's like, I don't agree. I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing the relationship that we start to see a different kind of relationship evolving between Thor and Loki as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that part's really, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, or right? I did. I didn't say it.
Which that's definitely so good. Lays out the groundwork for what comes in Ragnarok and then in Endgame, right?
For sure.
Or Infinity War, I mean. So I think that movie got and is panned for almost like, I'm just jumping on a bandwagon because everybody else says it, and I don't want to be the individual that everybody's like, you're dumb for liking that. And it's like, you know what? First of all, let's get past that. Like, we've talked about this before, respect each other's opinions on things, even when they're different than yours, especially when they're different from yours. If you didn't like Thor, like, that's cool, man. Like, that's all right. And I know we just got done making fun of people for liking Morbius, but the reality is, like, we appreciate that. Like, somebody has to like it, right? Somebody's got to give it some love, and that's cool, even if we don't understand it. But I do think that Thor: Dark World was much better than people give it credit for. Is it the best Thor movie? No way.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Is it the worst? Like, out of the if we look at the trinity of Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, is it the worst movie out of that group? I don't think so. No, I think Iron Man 2 probably fits that bill, honestly.
Yeah, I'd agree.
You know, and even I you know, Iron Man 2 is probably the one out of all that group that doesn't hold up the best over time. It's, you know, But yeah, I think Dark World is better than people lead you to believe.
For sure. And I'm glad you brought up the relation excuse me, the relationship with Loki. I meant to say that too. Like, as you said, it sets up what's coming, but also that's always been part of the story, is that Thor's wants to trust Loki, and Loki wants to for sometimes be trustworthy, and then he kind of can't help himself in some ways, but betray. And I think they do a pretty good job of exploring that aspect, especially of Loki's character and how the two of them react. And I'm an only child, but I have two children, so I see some insights into the sibling relationship thing, and it feels pretty real, I think, in that sense that got two brothers that are that antagonize each other, but also want to be accepted by each other and want to love each other and want to get along, and they just kind of can't always.
Yeah.
And I think this, Dark World, you get all of that.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It's a good one, Dave.
All right, what's next on your list, John?
So I've climbed to the top of this particular hill before in a previous podcast, and I'm gonna go up on top of it again, especially with Obi-Wan Kenobi getting ready to hit Disney Plus, which I am super excited for. Give me more Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. And as I've said before, I think Obi-Wan's the most underrated Jedi in like all of Star Wars lore. He's beat almost everybody at some point in time, but I think Revenge of the Sith is better than what people are led to believe. I think that it suffers from so episode 1, right? Phantom Menace is messy. It's not great. It's definitely the least favorite out of, I think, everybody's Star Wars movies. There may be like occasionally those, but I think that Revenge of the Sith suffers from like what came before it in a lot of people's eyes. When you pull that out and you look at it as a story of kind of the moment that we see Anakin turn, and it leads us into A New Hope, right? It sets up A New Hope. It's really a really good movie. Like, take everything out that came before it, but we get to see Order 66. We learn how all the Jedi are gone. Anakin kills everybody.
Yeah.
Like the younglings, like we see like how willing he is to do bad, to be able to do what he thinks is right.
So you're probably right. I, on some level, though, what I hear you saying is take out all the bad parts of the movie and you're left with a good movie.
No, I'm not saying take out all the bad parts of the movie. I'm saying take out like what led up to it, which tainted the idea of what this movie is. And
no, I know you are. Yeah.
Who we're looking at, right? And you have a really good movie that has a strong plot that moves along well, compelling characters that we get to see kind of in that the peak or height of the Republic and its fall.
Yeah, and all that is interesting and good. Where I lose it, or where it loses me, is that, well, the central motivation for Anakin going to the dark side is that he's not allowed to be with Padme, and that relationship isn't strong enough to, like, there's just no, like, none of that makes any sense. He doesn't get to be with, and he feels disrespected, and he's got to hide and all that stuff.
But that's not the central motivation. Go back and watch it. The central motivation is that he's having these disturbing dreams of Padme dying. And Palpatine convinces him that these are visions of what could happen. Yoda tells him, right, that these kinds of dreams like sometimes can be indicators of what's to come. And he loves Padme so much that he's willing to do anything to save her life, even if that means turning away from the light and going to the dark to be able to learn how to bring people back from the dead, or to keep them from dying, which is what Palpatine promises him the dark side can do. That is a very like real thing. There are 100%, there are people out there that if you told them your wife is going to die in childbirth, but if you do all these things that I tell you to do, you can stop it, you can prevent it.
I would agree with everything you just said. Here's my problem.
Right.
Your description of that is like 85 times better than the actual version of what we got, or at least more clear. is 85 times clearer than the way it was presented in the movie, as I remember it, at least. So
right.
Maybe I need to give it another shot. Like what you just said makes all the sense in the world, and I would buy it. But it was none of that came through to me in watching the movie. Now, again, maybe I need to see it again. I'll admit that's a possibility. And I still have the issue that at the core, he's that devoted to Padme. Like it just, I mean, we talk about it all the time, and other people have too, that like there's just almost zero chemistry between him and Padme on screen. And so it just makes it hard to buy that premise for me.
I think though, and yes, I agree. There's a certain lack of chemistry that we've come across like multiple times. And I think that comes from Padme's side of the house. She seems very like, the end of the day, Anakin is super passionate about her. And she's like, I love you, Annie. I mean, you're all right.
Yeah, right. And like a week ago, you were 8 and
yeah, right. That's the weird part.
That part's not good either.
Episode 2, we just don't discuss. No, we're not going to talk about it. But there's within the framework of the movie, I think that probably one of my favorite things has nothing to do with like Anakin and Padme, right? It's the heartbreak that happened within Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. That relationship, I think, is probably one of the best in Star Wars lore in terms of like the emotional gravity and eventual like betrayal and pain and everything else. I mean, there's memes all the time about the high road, but right. But tell me like that moment where he's like, don't do it, Anakin. I have the high road.
Ground. The high ground.
High ground. Yeah. And he just does it anyway. And we get stubby Anakin, right?
Yeah.
If he'd have fallen in the lava, we'd call him Stu. But anyway,
as it is, since he's just lying there, we call him Matt.
Yeah. So good. Dad jokes all over the place.
Yes.
But like that moment, like the rage that comes out of Anakin, the heartbreak that exists in Obi-Wan, it's really, to me, it's a good movie. And in all fairness, it is also the only one out of the episode 1, 2, and 3 that I own. Okay. I do not own 1 or 2. Like it's the only one out of those 3 that I own. And yep, I think it's a good movie. All
right. Well, maybe I need to watch it again. I will say the Order 66 is gut wrenching. Right? And wasn't it in that movie that we get to see Yoda finally go off?
Yeah. Well, I think in episode 2 we get to see it when he has to rescue Obi-Wan and Anakin from Dooku.
Okay.
Right. But we get to see like
together.
We get
doesn't he fight? Doesn't he fight against Palpatine a little bit?
He does, yeah. And we get to see Palpatine, like
true.
And we get to see how Palpatine gets all scarred and messed up looking. There's a lot of things that we get out of that movie that are payoffs that I think a lot of people like enjoyed. But anyway,
yeah. Sure. All right. Well, do you have any on your list that go the other way, that are like, oh, everybody really likes this and I don't get it?
Oh man. I'm sure there are. I'm drawing a blank right now.
I don't have
Yeah.
Again, I don't really enjoy yucking somebody else's yum, so maybe that's not a way to go.
Yeah, and I think that there's a bunch of movies. I will say this, and I'm not saying that it's a bad movie by any stretch. I own it, but my amazing wife Rachel loves Aquaman. Like,
Okay,
loves it. Granted,
yeah.
I think it's Jason Momoa.
Well, that's understandable.
Right?
He is
But
he is a beautiful human being.
He really is. Like, he's a good looking dude. And apparently he's in Fast and Furious number 10. Which I didn't know they were going to make a 10 after they went to space. I didn't think they had anywhere else to go.
Back in time, I don't know. Maybe they show up in the Jurassic World thing.
Yeah, I will say this. I am not a fan. You just said Back in Time. It made me think. I'm not a fan of Back to the Future Part 2.
Fair.
Where he goes to like the 1980s or goes to where 2000s or whatever it is that he goes to. And I just thought I didn't think it was good.
I might lose my geek card on this one.
Yeah.
I don't remember it at all. I think there's a chance I didn't see it. I have zero memory. I have zero memory of Back to the Future 2.
I will literally go Back to the Future 1, Back to the Future 3, and skip 2 entirely.
I know there are people that think 2 is like the greatest.
I don't think 2 is. I thought 2 was cheesy. I thought it was just, I don't know, man. I did not like that installment of Back to the Future.
Fair enough.
And people really like it, but I can't like, if there's a Back to the Future marathon on TV, I'll watch 1. I'll go somewhere else while 2 is on. And then come back for 3 because I thought 3 was really fun. Like going back in time to Western times, and I thought that was really well done. But yeah, it's no.
All right, I got one more, and I'm gonna reach into the Wayback Machine on this one.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, and this is nowhere near the bold claim that you've had here, but I still think the original Highlander movie holds up and is really damn entertaining.
I would say that the original Highlander was good. I know I'd be curious to see anybody who says that it's not. And I think that I agree. I think it holds up.
I mean, it's a B movie kind of thing. Like it's a little schlocky, but
the
it's
80s were B movies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But man, that's just so good. And some of that's nostalgia, I know, for me, I'm sure. But man, do I still love that movie. And how often can you make use of the there can be only one like thing
all the time?
I love it. Quote. It's so great. And you get Clancy Brown as the Kurgan, and and of course it makes no sense that Sean Connery was playing a Spaniard. Like
that was so weird.
Makes zero sense whatsoever.
So weird. It just did not make sense. But yeah, I agree. I think the original Highlander 2,
perhaps the worst movie of all time.
No.
Oh God. Well,
Mortal
all right.
Kombat 2.
Well, I never saw that. I don't even know what that is.
Don't even do it.
Okay, but
it has a 2% rating.
Okay. As far that's and I'm a little fuzzy on the whole good or bad thing. That'll be bad.
It's terrible.
Okay.
So
okay. But Highlander 2, as far as like a movie that I was so dang excited to see, and then you go to see it, and it's just this absolute inane mishmash of complete and utter trash and nonsense. I've never been more disappointed in a movie than I was in Highlander 2.
Yeah. I so watch Mortal Kombat 2. You'll go, oh no, there it is. That was the experience for me. I loved the first Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat. Bam, 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 bam. Played the video game a ton. I probably saw that original movie, and it had some, you know what? Sonya Blade in every single Mortal Kombat movie, they find a woman who has no fighting skill. Just put Ronda Rousey in as Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat. So we have like a real fighter in there, because man, all the other stuff they've done is like, you can't teach somebody to do those moves in that short amount of time. But the first Mortal Kombat, I loved it. It was so much fun. I was so pumped for the second one. The second one came out. I walked out of that movie theater and I remember thinking, what the did I just see?
Right.
So the newest one came out right during the pandemic, and it was on HBO Max. And my wife and I sat down and we watched it. And I'm going to say this, like, people liked that movie. I didn't think it was great. I thought it had a lot of the same flaws that other movies. There were moments in it that it was really cool, but like, other people seem to really like Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I didn't
watch it.
I didn't get it. I still think the very first original one was the best one. So we watched that and she was like, okay, I like that. That was okay. Which isn't surprising. My wife has terrible taste in movies. I love you, babe, but you do. We talked about it. But I was like, well, let's watch. Did you ever see Mortal Kombat 2? And maybe Mortal Kombat 2 is Annihilation. And then the new Mortal Kombat, the reboot, was something else. Anyway,
it was just Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I think it's just
current one.
Yeah, you're right. It's just Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 2 was Annihilation. And we got exactly 5, maybe 6 minutes in. And I was like, I think I made my point. This is the worst movie of all time. Click on off, it went. We never went back to try and finish it. It was just universally understood.
Just that bad.
I do want to throw this out there because I'm dying to bring it up. I think that the Ghost Rider movies aren't as bad as universally panned. Now, I'm not saying they're good.
Yeah.
I want to make that super clear. I'm not saying they're good, but they had some really nice moments in them, like some really beautiful stuff where it's not Nick Cage being weird. It's Ghost Rider like riding up the side of a building on his bike with flames coming off of it. Man, it's so cool to see that. I really want this rumor that they're going to try and reboot Ghost Rider with Norman Reedus in the lead to be true, because I think that Ghost Rider as a character and as a property, 1, has a long history, and 2, is a really amazing and fascinating character in every iteration that we've gotten, whether it's Johnny Blaze, whether it's Danny Ketch.
Currently, isn't it Robbie Reyes?
Robbie Reyes, yeah, who's like has the car, and that one's really
that's
cool.
So cool. I would love to see that version. I guess they kind of did a little bit of that in the
Shield.
Yeah, in Agents of Shield, which we watched that, but I mean, those last like 2 seasons or something just didn't really stick with me.
So I'm gonna say this as my parting thing. I don't think Agents of Shield as a series is as good as everybody made it out to be. I didn't make it out of season 1 because I just kind of found it boring.
It has an interesting relationship, how it seems like some of what happened in Agents of Shield has affected the comics, like one of those reverse relationships kind of thing. And all of a sudden there's a character, Quake, who's Daisy Johnson. I think she's pretty good. What's her name? Adrian Palicki, something like that, who played Bobby Morse, Mockingbird. I think she was really good in that. And I think the best part of that show was how they reacted to the big reveal in Captain America Winter Soldier, and how like the big reveal of Hydra being at the heart of Shield, and how that played out in the Agents of Shield movie. I think that season was probably my favorite.
Yeah, I have to go back and I guess
and that probably was season 2, maybe 3. I don't remember the timing.
I couldn't get into it. It seemed to me like it's just like a cop show.
Yeah, that's true.
And I wanted more out of it, I think.
And I think later on it got more. Now again, it had some weird MacGuffin stuff about some pulsating like little pyramid things that transported people to other dimensions or something. So, none of that ever made any sense. But dude, Ming-Na Wen as Melinda May, as like, we've seen her. It was kind of the Marvel version of what's her name, Finnick in is that her name, Finnick? What's the in Mandalorian and Boba Fett, like she plays the assassin there, like the assassin assistant to Boba Fett. She's terrific. She kind of played a version of that character as Melinda May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like she's BA, man. She's badass. She kicks ass. Yeah. Like she's great. But and of course Phil Coulson. Gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Who's the guy that plays Phil Coulson?
I don't know, but when you find his name, I highly recommend when this is all done, go back and watch Celebrity Lip Sync with him.
Okay.
It's probably the greatest, next to the Tom Holland one.
Okay. Sorry, it's taking me a second to find it. Like a second longer than what is his Clark Gregg.
Yeah.
So all right, well, that's probably about enough on all those things. Although, one last thought from me on Highlander, dude, the soundtrack by Queen, fantastic.
I'm a big Queen fan anyway. Like they were just amazing.
But it just fit that movie somehow.
Yeah.
And like the scene in the like when Connor's original love Heather is dying, and you get that soundtrack of the Who Wants to Live Forever. Like,
it's good.
Teenage Dave loved that stuff, and I still think it holds up.
I think it does too. Yeah.
And that comes to mind sometimes too, like, something not truly heartbreaking in the world, but like something kind of jokey heartbreaking happens. I don't even know what that means, but still that's the soundtrack for that. Who Wants to Live for, when two people break up maybe, and it should happen or something. I don't know. Just that song, Who Wants to Live Forever, comes to mind, and it's so good. All right. Well, folks, what do you think? What do you think of our bold and potentially terrible takes on these things? What did you miss? What do you like? What do you think is good that other people are trying to tell you is not? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, as always, leave us a comment in the comment section on social. Send us an email. Whatever works for you. That's great. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for checking us out, and hopefully we'll see you, or you'll hear us. We won't hear you. You'll hear us next week, but we want to hear from you. All right, everybody. Till next time, true believers. Bye.
Bye.